All right, we are back on our Model A, guys. Y'all know, not too long ago, old Sir Mordecai swung through town in a Roadster he bought. People think I took the easy road. Old Sir Mordecai, he just bought one turnkey. You know, he ain't got the skills to build anything hardly. So anyways, he come through town, and me and Slick had to fix a ton of stuff that he is incapable of fixing. And after all that, we went for a ride in it, and it kind of got me going. I want to be able to drive my own hot rod, dang it. So the last go around on this thing, we actually broke the motor in. We got that old small block Chevrolet fired up for the first time, baby. However, that don't mean she's good to go. She was just kind of hot wired. We had our gauges temporary wired in over the fenders. It was a whole thing, but she's going. So I'm kind of hoping, I'm not gonna tell you this car's gonna be done this video, because I seriously doubt it. But what I would hope for is we can drive it by the end of this video, and there may still be some loose ends, but a drive's a drive, dang it. And right now we have a motor that's been broke in that we know runs. We've got our transmission in place. We've got a drive shaft. We've got bled brakes. I mean, in theory, we service the rear end. If we get that motor fired up, we could drive it now. Just a little hard to drive with gauges hanging off the fenders and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I think that's where we're actually going to start in this video, is looking at some gauge placement. There's not a lot of room in the dash of these things, because right on the back side of your panel there, well, that's your gas tank. So cutting into it probably wouldn't go too good. Yeah, we don't want to blow this baby up. So that's a big old speedometer too, you know. Couldn't find a small one. She is a curved glass Stuart Warner though, so she looks pretty dang good if you ask me. So we're gonna explore some options for mounting some of this stuff. We may build something over to the side of the steering wheel. We may be able to get it into that bezel. We may just have to droop her over the fender. That's what we're about to figure out. And we're gonna start by pulling this bezel out of the Model A dash. I've never had one of these out before, and I'm curious to see what we got on the back side, because there is a trough for wires in the Speedo cable right here. So let's see. Sure is dark in here. Somebody turned the lights out. Looks like 4 flathead screws will do us. Damn museum car right there. Mismatch hardware. Alright. So that just surrounds our actual field gauge there. And then that falls out of there. Oh, that thing's actually a lot bigger than what you would kind of expect it to be, huh? Oh. Alright. Let me get some snippers. That's caught on our pedal. Oh, snip, snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. Snip that booty. Snip that booty. Snip, snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. Snip that booty. Move that shifter. Move, move, move. Move, move, move. Move that shifter. Get the hell out of the way. That old Speedo cable looks like a snake. That out of there. Oh yeah, we actually got quite a bit of room back there, so it's not necessarily that much bigger. The big difference is our Speedo cable comes straight out the back, where that goes down at the bottom at an angle, which is designed to catch that down there. So by the time we put a Speedo cable on here, it's gonna be this could get fun. Yep. That's what I'm thinking though. What I'm thinking is, if we look at our panel here, and of course that mounts like that, and don't really get wider till over here. So I'm thinking, what if we sliced, starting up here and kind of down that, and then we're able to pivot that out, opening up a gap down here that's actually going to kick more incline, getting that towards the trough, blah blah blah. And then maybe we could sheet metal that back in and just build this thicker off there. And of course that's way underneath this ledge, whatever. So even if that stuck out quite a bit more, it's still gonna look good. That's the plan. Let's snip it and strip it. There's the strips. OG speedometer, baby. Can't believe someone don't make one of these that's more updated, that goes into the factory location. Good thing we cut them wires, because taking these off is so hard. Those just kind of crimp in there. And this has a nut. If this works out, we'll probably look at moving our key switch from there and putting our 2 other gauges in here as well. Have her looking real nice. If this don't work, we're probably gonna have to get a new one of these, because I'm about to cut this one. It's in moments like this where I always wonder. I wonder if this is Model A Ford Club of America approved. Ooh yeah, I'm gonna slice you, baby. I'm gonna slice you. Alright, to actually try to bend this open, I actually mounted it back in here because we don't want our frame shape to change. We just want it to stay, and then hopefully, boy, that didn't bend as easy as I was thinking it would. I'll be honest. I was hoping we could pull this this way. Oh, there we go. I missed a little area. I was gonna say, that sucker should be moving. Trying to pull it up here where it actually pivots up here. See? All right. You see what I mean? I mean, that's gonna get us a ton of space. But over here, it still don't look terrible. If we could go back just to right there, or maybe bend that out where we're about right in there's flush, then our gauge will still look good. I think we could work with that. I got a little excited there and cut that. I should have finished stripping her down first, getting stuff like that little trim ring off there, but mainly this piece. We obviously can't just cut through that. It looks like that's folded over, so maybe we can cut around it and it'll fall off there, or we can cut that edge. I should have just used that from the get-go, because that's a much smarter, faster, nicer way to do that. Just grind that lip off, that falls out. Oh! Museum quality car. I just found more rust. Throw it in the trash. All right, I think my goal is gonna be to get a section welded in here or tacked in to stabilize this some. And then we'll figure out how to put our hole in here for the Speedo. We need a strip of sheet metal about 1 3/8 wide. Nothing but the finest material for my Model A. This is good quality metal. It's never had rust on it in its life. Grind off your paint. I kind of mark center there by eyeball. I mark center there with a tape measure. We're just gonna hold that perfect, tack it, and then start working it. Getting this exactly where she needs to be. Be a great time to have about 4 hands. So work smarter, not harder. Now, I'm gonna warn you, This metalwork you're about to see performed here is going to be a little caveman. We could tack in a spacer to hold that gap on the backside, and then we could try to make a template that was exactly all that, and blah, 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 blah. Or we can caveman it. Captain Caveman! That's why they call me Captain Caveman, baby. It's starting to overlap because obviously that's going to taper, so we knew the 1 3/8 wasn't going to work the whole way. But you can see how I got that kind of shaped like that. So now we can shove it down and it matches. So now I'm just going to run our cutoff wheel through there, cutting off that little bit, same back this way. We should be able to shove that down into place and tack it. It's just a very easy way to do it though, because now as long as I can shove that over, we can keep tacking. And because this has a little bit of curve in it and this piece is pretty flat, we're not going to be able to make that just perfect. You can see down through there, it don't look bad. But if we really want that smooth, we are going to have to body filler this some. The more we go over here, this material would actually have to be shrank some. There's a little extra material right in there. That's okay, guys. This is hot rodding. Put her out, she's smoking hot. Now that right there is gonna cut it, or work, kinda, sorta. Carry it down there. I said we could relieve some there, and I did. So there we have the start of our filler panel. Now, before we go any further, we wanna see if our Speedo's actually gonna fit. So I'm gonna eyeball center right there. Let's get me some reference marks going. Try to find center this way, because we need to make a hole out of that. Here's how we're gonna do this. Cut a piece of scrap, grind your paint off there, and we're gonna actually weld that to it. Now you just wanna go install that in your Model A and you're done. Reconnect our lines. That's too low. We're gonna have to go higher. I can't go center to this because that's too big. So we're actually gonna have to go up in here. Call in the big dogs. No! Well, it ripped it up out of there. Now that hole may be a hair small. Yeah, that's tight. So now we'll just slowly take it out with our carbide. Here she fits and looks good in there. Let's head on out to the junkyard, see if we can find an old Speedo cable. What is that? Speedo cable extension unit? That's bigger. Not convinced that's what we need. So here's the thing. We can guesstimate on a bunch of old Speedo cables. I'll look through some more in the junkyard. Or we can go get one that's actually gonna work for us and see. Because it's looking to me like we're gonna have to add more of a metal strip. So, if I'm wrong, I hope so. Because that means we're not gonna have to uncut what we've already did. But if I'm right, we better just go get what we need. Small down finger was that fox on the run, like a fox on the run. Let me hit y'all with a pro tip on a parts run. You're coming to get a Speedo cable and the speedometer's out. You definitely do not want to bring the speedometer with you to make sure you get the right cable. Be sure to subscribe here to the Puddins.fab.shop for more pro tips like this. The good news is This end, I think, is the one we need, and that crimp's a lot smaller than the one we had at the shop. So I think our chances of our little modification working just increased a lot right here. Please, 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 big money, no whammy, no whammy. Come on, come on. Oh yes, ho 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 ho, yes. I got coffee when I was out, even though I didn't need it. That looks much more promising than this, which was the other one I found this style. See how much longer that is? That's why this had me nervous. Let's just go get one. Now the question is that gonna fit? And it is not feeling entirely happy. No, dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Well, big exhale of defeat, because that's about the only way it'll fit. As you can see, that's a significant amount. Just hardly noticeable. And even right there, I'm having to beat that thing into submission. Beat it in there. Dang it. The Speedo cable coming out of the middle and not towards the bottom or something like that's what's really getting us. I kind of feel dumb now. And I say that because in all my hurriness, I guess I didn't think about maybe possibly running an electronic one and not dealing with a cable. If that was the case, I think we'd be okay. The only way we don't have to worry about fishing a Speedo cable through the firewall and stuff. We could just run all of our wires together. I don't really want to pie cut that gauge or the thingy anymore and keep inclining the dog poop out of it. Bad news, good news. Bad news is we're gonna have to get the electronic speedometer. Good news is they make one that looks like that, and that fits perfect with no cable. AKA we can carry on with enclosing it and blah, 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 blah. So let's keep this party going. We're writing a curve. So we're gonna start her with a little curve. Just a little, not a lot. Push that down and pinch something. I ain't gonna tell you what I pinched. Old PJ, Puddin' Jr. All right, just like the other piece, just kind of work it down in, and then I'm gonna trim her down. She ain't pretty. Let's grind on it and try to pretty her up a little bit. Woo, fun stuff. I love grinding. I love sanding. I love getting my butt whipped by this bezel. Now our sides ain't gonna be perfect. We got different shape there, so for that to look good, we either need to build a whole new piece, which ain't happening, or use some body filler, which is fine. But this top corner right here, we're wanting to smooth it out kind of like that, where our body filler stays on the side, hopefully don't wrap on top. Remove that off the back. And eventually we'll get this thing all the way stripped down. I think we're finally there. And that's because before we move forward on trying to bodywork this, we are going to finish laying out our stuff. Oh boy, I'm noticing now how close these are. Oh yeah, we gotta weld that up too, don't we? For our other gauges, we need a 2-inch hole. So what I'm gonna do is just kiss the edge of that little notch, whatever that is. And we will mark that out where we leave as much room between them as possible. We could weld a washer or scrap and hole saw it, but no more we got there. This will make quick work of her. Tight fit. So our question is, if we drop that in there, can we drop this in here and clear each other? Oh yeah. I mean, there ain't a 1/16 in between there, but clearing's clearance. Got a little nubby there, so we need to put a little extra notch down on the bottom. And that'll make sure that can actually sit down all the way. Ha ha! Ha ha! No! No! What the smell? Can't get good nothing nowadays. That's one way to do that. Voila! It's gone. The great Houdini strikes again. Just don't look at the backside. All of his secrets revealed. Just don't look underneath all the body filler. How does he do it, folks? He uses a Miller welder and a whole lot of I don't give a damn. Are we starting to get somewhere, or are we starting to get somewhere? Boy, if those don't clear. They may not. They may not. It is close, but no, it's hitting. However, if we flip her over and look, looks like probably our little hold down's what's hitting. We got plenty of threads left. Of course, that can't hit our studs, but if it don't clear, we can make it clear. Let's cut all this down. We can cut her down at least 3/8 of an inch, probably. Build a hot rod, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Uh-oh. May cut off too much. Or maybe the perfect amount. Well, she tightens down. She holds her. Cut her studs down. I did have to trim on our hold down clearance for those, clearance for our light socket. Let's go see if we're getting lucky here or if we're pissing in the wind. Survey says, oh, that seems to sit down. Yes, it does. And from what I can see, we'll clear. Okay, how about a little curveball? Can we put our light socket in? Survey says, no. Not with that socket. That's hitting too much. I'll be honest, a light bulb don't bother me that damn much. Guys, I think this is gonna work. So now we got another gauge get in there. So I'm gonna give us a reference mark there and there, and then some down on the bottom. And we try not to move this or our paper, and we will do a little tracing, and then we will trace our hole over here. Then, once we pick that up, we gotta kinda look through and mark on the back side of this where our marks were. And then this paper's thin enough, we should be able to just see ours here on the front. It's weird, I keep falling through this paper like there's a bunch of holes in the table or something. Cut our hole out. Now, it was like that, so we should be able to flip-flop that to there, as long as we can line up our marks. All right, ditch the marks. These ones, because that only works if we take the time to get them perfectly centered. We did not. So what I just did was I measured down from the center of our hole there, down here, 5/8 of an inch on both sides, drew a straight line. I did not hit the top edge, so then I just kept our gap the same between there until I hit the top of this. And then we have a line straight across there to aim for. So in theory, as long as we keep this in the center of this, and then we rotate it in the hole until we get that line right where we want it, like right there, that should be pretty dang close. And it is pretty dang close, but it ain't perfect because that's thicker than that. Blood's thicker than water. I think this little thing's driving me crazy today. You want to keep testing me? You want to push my buttons? Don't try me again. One last try, and we're gonna smash it. We got a reference line up here. I just eyeballed and drew us a reference line down here to hit. So now, in new theory, if we set that in there, rotate it around, really help if that was actually a perfect circle. We get that right there, but then we start to see some of that. Let's try that. That actually looks pretty good. That don't look too shabby. 3 1/16, 3 1/16. I guarantee you, that's pretty stinking close. Here comes the tornado. Yo! Tornado gets wild. Thank you. Have y'all figured out what today is? It's a lot of doing the same old crap. Woo! After all that hard work, there we go, guys. I love how it looks. Now let's go for one final fit up. Woo, baby. Hubba hubba. Look at that thing. Guys, that looks amazing. It looks so good. Oh, it looks so good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Lord, that it's in. I have been stressing over these gauges for a long time in this build. That's why I finally just pulled the trigger on these, because I was really overthinking it, and obviously I didn't get electric speedo, so I was also underthinking it. But I really didn't think that big of a speedo was gonna be able to fit into that thing. But that right there, that's money. I don't know if anyone sells something like that. I don't think they do, or I think in my searching I would have found something, but someone should, because that looks badass. I mean, I just looked up, dang, that looks good in the dictionary, and there's a picture of my cluster. It's super dark in there, so I don't know why I'm acting like y'all can see that right now, but oh, sweet mama, does that look good. So all the crap from the factory, a lot of times people will leave those little things, and I just think they're ugly as can be from the factory. The speedometer, the fuel gauge, like that looks all right, but then they got that lamp that hangs out in the middle to illuminate the speedometer, because back in 1930 they didn't think to put the light bulb in the speedometer. What's with those people, huh? Get it together, Henry Ford. But that hangs out, then you got the key switch, then the little, and it's not, there's not a lot of, it's not, it is symmetrical, but it's not. They lay it out in a symmetrical pattern, but the shapes of stuff's different, and it just it bugged me. But this does not bug me. That was some fresh paint on it, cleaned up a little better. That just, we nailed it, guys. That's all I can say. We nailed that. Now the only thing we need to add is a key switch somewhere. Oh yeah, I meant to get a universal key switch earlier when I was at the O'Reilly's, and I forgot. Our fuel gauge, obviously we don't need, because we're using factory tank with the factory fuel gauge. But our volt gauge, battery charge, volt, whatever, I may actually just bolt it or put it underneath the passenger seat where the battery's gonna go for this thing. It should be real easy to just put a single gauge holder down there, then it's hid. That ain't something I want to be able to look at all the time, but if you really need to see it, then we could flip up the passenger seat and check it. Then we won't have to worry about mounting it anywhere up on the dash. It ain't fitting in that bezel. Anyone touch that cluster other than to make it pretty with a little bodywork or something, and they're gonna get a knuckle sandwich for free. This one's on the house. I don't even want people looking at that thing right now. I'm so happy it looks good, but I'm so mad at it and frustrated still from building it today. I'm so happy and mad at the same time I can barely speak. I'm bamboozled. The words can't come out of my mouth what I even want to say. Boy, you want to really start talking about me not knowing what I'm doing, give me some body filler. First, you want to use your can opener here and reach down in there and mix that up. Step number 2, get you a wolf. Woo! That'll get you pouring. Don't do that, guys. Do not sniff body filler. Hey, Ma, Puddins huffing the body fillers again. Step 3, 4, or 5, whatever we're on. Quit making a damn mess with it. Put the screwdriver away and back away slowly. I got a proper scooper right here. You want to make a nice concentrated puddle of your body filler. Step 12, give her some hooky puck. If there's any left. Nope, drop that lid, and then don't forget, you want it shaken, not stirred. If it's turning blue, you did good. Now you know it's gonna set up super fast. At this point, you're ready to start applying, and good luck. Now, I BS about a lot of stuff, but sucking at bodywork is not one of them. We just put her on 1/4 inch thick, we can shave her down from there, right? What a mess. Hey, that's looking like something. It's really not that thick down in there, or not even an 1/8 inch thick, I guarantee you that. At its worst spot, the rest of it's pretty dang close. I doubt it's even an 1/8 inch. I was probably being generous with that number. Now we're laying it on thicker than that, but most of this is gonna get sanded off. Oh, I think she's starting to chunk up and set on us. So if we're gonna get her all the way to the top, we better get her there. All right, here we go. Set that out in the Oklahoma sun to bake. I went and hit the gym. Ain't gonna be able to do nothing for the next 2 days. My arms are gonna kill me. First time I've worked out in 9 years, 7 years. Good morning, class. I ended the day yesterday with, of course, some more of that body working. I can't give you very many tips on that besides don't do it as a profession. It ain't fun. My second tip would be don't get carried away with the DA like I do. How do I spend 8 hours building a gauge bezel? I don't know. Someone should make them things, like I said. Today, we are going to start running some of our wiring. Now, what I like to do from the get-go is kind of get a list of what we've got going on. It'll help you start to map out some wiring. So for our front, we got headlights, our high beams, turn signals, that's going to be 2 separate wires, oil gauge, temp gauge. We got a Theo, he's on a mission. He must have seen something. He's like, hey, Dad, want me whoop it? I put whooping on it. Uh-oh. Oh, crikey. He sneaks up on him in stealth mode. He hears the door creak. It's throwing him for a twist. Theo! Anyways, temp gauge, Pertronics /ignition. I don't have Pertronics, but we're going to look into that. Get rid of our points. We have an electric fan. We got a starter and an alternator. Brake light switch. That's underneath there. So we'll do brake light switch as part of our dash. See, that's why I like to make a list. You forget one thing, you'll have it. Our dash, we got worry about a headlight switch, oil, temp gauge, ignition switch, dash lights for our gauges, even though the little sockets don't fit. I'll probably add a USB port somewhere. The Speedo. I looked last night, found the one that matches ours, and Stuart Warner also sells the thing that links to GPS. That way we're not having to run wires all the way down to our transmission. If we got their sender, we're gonna have to convert ours. It's a whole mess. So I just went with the GPS one. That little box should mount underneath our dash area somewhere. So we'll have to look into what we gotta do for wiring it. Our wiper motor and our brake light is what I can think of right now. I didn't even realize this thing actually had electronic little windshield wiper on it. You can wipe her manually with this little rod there, but then you can see the wire, and then it looks like we got a switch. I always wondered what this wiring over here went to that I cut, that I'm now sure hooked up in here and we'll probably never get to it. You should make good decisions like me. Like cutting wires that you don't know where they go to. What do you think? Rear tail lights, brake light, slash, those are turn signal, ain't they? License plate light, that'll probably piggyback off that. That's the thing, the rear's gonna be about the most simple because we ain't got a lot going on back here, do we? So overall, this is pretty simple. I'm not worried about stuff like neutral safety switch. Yes, that shifter has one. Yes, we could wire it in there, or you could just not start your car with it in gear. A horn. I'm not gonna worry about hooking up a horn. I think the wiring on them's ugly. It's just more crap to pack in here that we really don't need. These windshields flip up. I'll flip up the windshield and yell at somebody if I need to, okay? That's a pretty good list. Right here we've got a, I don't know, I bought this off my buddy. Rebel wire, American made for real rods, blah, 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 blah. I think they're kind of overpriced myself. And yeah, we're gonna use it because I got it. I'm not saying I'd use it again for no more than you get with their little kit. I could have bought one of the Speedway ones that came with 1,000 circuits and all the switches for cheaper than this. These don't even come with any switches, so. Now, since we're adding some stuff, we're taking away some stuff, we could sit here, look at our list, make our own little diagram, figure out what we need to add, figure out what we need to remove before we run all this. However, that takes a little brain power, a little more than what I'm willing to give right now. So we're gonna mount ours and then start running stuff where it needs to go, and we're gonna eliminate as we go. So we're gonna start with figuring out where to mount this bad boy. Get a little fancy here, okay? We're gonna round some corners, cut her out. You'll see what we're doing here in a minute. I want this extra lip, so whenever we have kick panels put in this thing, there's a place for them to attach the kick panel to. Thinking ahead. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Arrow, puddins.fab.shop, this away. It'll change into plans, gonna use some thick stuff. Does anyone else use benchmark abrasives? And has anyone else noticed their cutoff wheels here lately don't last near as long as they used to? Well, I don't know if I got a bad batch or they're changing what they were, how they were making them, but what? I hope it's just a bad batch. And that's not just me. I've even had some local buddies who usually use them. And they've asked me, hey, have you noticed? And I was like, yeah, I did. And I thought it was just me. Apparently it's not. Eighth inch or 11 gauge, whatever that is. A lot stronger than the 18 gauge I was gonna use. She ain't gonna flex now, is she? This is a little narrower than our template, but that's okay. It'll still work. Woo! Got a nice little shaving to the palm that was hot, hot, hot. Little nutsert action, huh? Where's that harness? Take everything out to a 1/4-20. She's looking good. Come on. Woo, him's excited. He wants to zoom me. Come on. Get him out, get him out. Go, go, go. He's on one, folks. Yeah, here comes Theo around. Oh, with the fakie 180. He tricked us. Good boy. Are you foaming? Have you been licking frogs again? Told you leave them frogs alone. Oh, tricked them. Sorry guys, Theo thought he was fast or something, so I had to show him who was boss around here. Be real careful, because if we punch through that hard, we're gonna hit our outside sheet metal and we'll ding it out. You don't want to go around with your dinger out. Now, the real question is, will this fit up here? It ain't really looking like it. Yeah, but we're pushing our luck on these. Success. Shoot a little primer on her. Get your paint mixed up. Mix her up real nice. Of course, getting this the same color is going to help it disappear in there and just look like it's really meant to be. I'll even do a light coat on the back here. Beautiful. Now, as that bakes in there, we've got to find somewhere to mount our key switch, and I kind of been eyeballing it over there. 3/4 inch hole. Go about 1 3/4 inches on our overall diameter, or size, I mean. Hey, instead of guessing, we can draw a line, and then we can mark that, and then there's crosshairs on here we can mark. Then we can mark that. Then we can line up the crosshairs on our bigger one, and then we can have that all centered up nice, and we're not guessing anymore, because that was so much harder. Now, because this bracket ain't very important, we're just gonna make it out of cardboard. We'll just duct tape it up in there. Just kind of give her the eagle eye in there. Come on, killer. Oh yeah, I was talking to you, sweet mama. I said killer, she looked at me. Yeah, you. Belt sanders will work on cardboard. They don't discriminate. It drew me a reference line. Basically what I'm thinking is we can cut that out of a piece of metal. Again, leaving a little bit of a lip underneath there for a kick panel to be able to kick up some and sit against that. But basically I think we can just weld that there, and then we can dust it in with some green paint, and I just want it kind of tucked up and hid. Then the few wires that go off of it can loop right around this to the back side of our fuse panel there. I wish someone was here where they could hold that and I could sit from, Theo, get your thumbs and get over here. Yeah, you can kind of see it. That's okay. I got a plan. Look in our scrap cabinet. Found that. We got that. Let's make her happen. Now this is 2-inch wide strap, and we kind of built our piece 1 3/4 inches. So we're actually making her a little bigger, but that's okay. She will work. Here more. We will we're gonna wrap this in this piece of metal, and then that'll just help kind of dress her up some. She's looking good. Tack her on the front. Actually burned it in a little on the back. Now we just gotta slowly start to wrap it. As you can see, I offset that on purpose so we can fill that up with weld and then be able to smooth it and still leave plenty of weld in there. And this stuff's thin enough that I can wrap that by hand pretty easy. Check that out. Maybe a 1/16 too much material. I did not cut that to length. That's how I found it in the scrap cabinet. That right there is meant to be. Going around smoothing her out. Start with 36 grit. That was real aggressive on them welds. Knocked her down quick, but then we got to work our scratches out of it. So swap to our 80 grit on here. Now this sucker, stay flat here, stay flat here. That's a sharp corner. Right there is real sharp. Now I'm gonna knock her down just a pass with a pass. Then we'll let the DA take care of the rest. There we go. That looks pretty good. She'll run. Put some weld through primer on this bad girl. Well, it ain't perfect. We could, I sanded her out, as you seen, whatever. We could body work that and really try to make it perfect, but we can also kick our kick panel right up to that seam and everything. She's looking good, guys. Let that primer set up and we'll get a little paint shot on that. She's gonna really look good. Yeah. Pull our hood off. I got us a coil mount. I had one, but when that old Mortsky was in town, he stole it. Instead of we got to ride in his hot rod. If you didn't see on his channel, he bought a Model A Roadster down in like Houston area, Texas. He flew in, drove it down to the Gulf, then road tripped it back up. On the way, he stopped by here. Me and old Slick Fitty fixed a lot of stuff on it for him. There's a good hour of Puddins Fab Shop content on his channel if y'all want to check it out. Our heights look a little incorrect, but I think we'll be able to make it work. A coil mount will probably be good instead of, you know, this just sitting here. Devil's in the details, they say. We're working out the details. Right now, we've got a return spring bracket on there. And that sits all right, actually. I don't know what kind of baby coil this thing's used to holding, because those aren't even close to fitting. That thing's massive. So the real question is, will that line up after we stretch this sucker out? And of course, the answer is no. This is right at where we need it. And we're gonna have to slot this. Grinding on chrome. Yeah, let's party. It's got the old long donger. Next problem is, those are so, whoop, we're not gonna be able to get our screw started there. They're at different angles. Looky there. Just because that coil mount's gonna work now, don't mean this tab will work with the coil mount being on there. It's hitting. You know, build some custom cars, huh? La-di-da-di-doo-da-day. As that primer dries, we'll come back in here. spritz over any of our primer drops from down there where they disappear. Uh-oh, there's a run. This stuff ain't sticking to that weld-through primer very good. Probably should have scuffed it and tried a light coat. That's weird. Not that anyone will really be able to see the bottom side. Right there, we got a big old drip. I'm gonna just pull it off there with a piece of paper. And I'm gonna drag her out this way. I'm gonna get that paint off there. Then up here where I put about 17 runs, I'm gonna drag that, shove it down, pull it off there. And I'm gonna dust on a new coat. That looks pretty dang good. One run still at the back. Someone tries that hard to look at this thing, they deserve to see the run. Other than that right there, the color's a perfect blend. Looks good in there. Got that paint set up. I went and got me a little lunch. Little lunchy. Couple chicken tenders, baby. All right, a little tape there. I did get this all mounted once that bracket dried. Look at that, y'all see that? That's a piece of baling wire. You like that? Fancy. I noticed this was wanting to move around. Those weren't wanting to stay spread apart and holding that bracket tight. So I bend that where you can grab that and pick it up out of there. It really don't look bad. That's dang sure better than losing your throttle cable going down the road. So in here, I've been doing a lot of walking back and forth, looking and seeing where, if we come through in here, we don't see a lot of wiring, just a major eyesore. Yeah, I know you see that key switch looking good there. And then where's a good place for our wiring to drop down out here? And the best I've come up with is this curve right up in here, about underneath this bead area right in there. That'll keep everything nice and away from the exhaust. We can run the stuff towards the back, whichever way we need to. We can lay right on top of our motor for bringing wires towards the front. And when the hood sides are propped open, you can only kind of see through here, so really you shouldn't be able to see too much of it when the hood sides are up. Then in here, by the time you sit up, if you look down, you'll be able to see it, of course, but it's got to go through somewhere. Hold on, Model A. This is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. Oh, how come they ain't figured out how to make wire and Bluetooth yet? There is a big old hole we just put in there. I can see some valve cover. We did good with our tape. Our paint looks in pretty good shape underneath there. Now we just gotta see if we can work this grommet into place. That grommet was a two-handed special. I had to really work that sucker to get it in there. I'll give them one thing for sure. That grommet seems like good quality. There are some real cheap ones, real hard rubber, fight you. That one's nice and snug. So that makes me happy. Fits in there beautiful. So these wires I laid across here, these are actually for inside. They color coordinate with their zip ties. So blue zip tie, red zip tie. Red is steering column, blue is dash wire. And then all the rest need to go outside the car, so that's all of this. I'm gonna start with our green wire, which is all the stuff for our rear. Now if there's a wire that we 1000% know we are not gonna end up using, I'm gonna cut it out of here. If I cut it out, I guess I actually mean we can pull it out. So we're gonna start by removing old Pinky. And that is actually the wire that would run from a fuel gauge in the back to electronic fuel gauge in the front, which obviously we do not have. Uh-oh. Don't bugger up all the wiring. Jeez Louise, I done made a mess. Should just cut it. I done turned this harness to spaghetti. Whoop! And you could run that through and wrap it up in the harness, and honestly, it probably wouldn't matter, guys. Now the rest of this we need, so let's fish her on through. Here we go. First bundle. Hey, it wanted to go through there. It came right back to me. Y'all see that? Yeah, I'm trapped in here. The wire's caught on the camera. Everything's going to hell. Zip ties. They don't go through there easy, do they? Get out of there. Why are we in a mess already? What is happening? Woo! Wiring. I love it. So much fun. Oh, perfect. I ran it on the back side, or on the front side of the column. It needs to be on the back side. We get to pull it all out again. My favorite again. Yes. Yes. Now, as good looking as a bunch of stray wires is, I decided we may want to wrap this stuff. I used to have this stretchy wrap in every size, but it looks like I'm down to 1 or 2 sizes now. So I cut off their zip ties, and I just put a wrap of tape there to hold it together. That way we could feed this through. Some of those wires that were extra long, I cut them down. And this stuff kind of feeds like a Chinese finger trap. Those things you used to put your fingers in and get stuck. So you push that, stretch it out right there. Then you can slide that onto your wiring. So I've got the tip of that wire right in there. You got to slip that over and pass. It starts to look like a big old stretched out belly tummy. Or snake belly. I meant a belly tummy. Look like a snake's stomach after it just ate a rat or something. And then you just, whoop, see that? Push it along with your hand. Take all that extra towards the other end. And you can see that stuff just keeps on going. It'll slip down. This is getting tricky because we actually need to slip it up into our, what do you call it? Grommet. Didn't think this one through, did we? I shoved her up on through there. We still had a little extra slack left over, so I'm gonna stretch it back down this way, and then we'll be ready to trim this. Now, the way I've done these before is quite the process. You actually literally run all your stuff where it needs to go, cutting out each wire where it needs to be cut out, blah, blah, blah. What I mean is, somewhere back in here, I'll show you, there's an orange wire that's shorter than the rest, and we've got to pop it out of the harness. So anywhere your wire ends, you turn that wire out and you tape it up where you know that needs to come out of the harness there. And you got to run a whole harness, then you pull it all out, then you wrap the whole thing in this stuff in different sizes. You tape up your different joints, this, that, and make it all nice. Then you run it all back in and everything fits like it was designed for it. I'm gonna try to adapt this stuff to this as we go. And like I said, I really don't have enough to do, right, enough different sizes. My main worry was actually this wire running to the back. Now that's kind of tricky. Gotta push that back and you'll see what I mean. See, boop, there's the orange wire. All right, like I said though, mainly worried about getting this stuff wrapped up because this got to run all the way to the back underneath the car, and I don't want to see a bunch of exposed wiring. Now on the motor, if we've got one single wire that has to run to something, this or that, that don't look near as tacky as a bundle of 4 of them, you know. So let's fish her down through the back. I ain't gonna show you all that because it's about as fun as wrapping this was, and I'm not full mounting it yet. I'm just gonna try to get it routed along the firewall and headed backwards, and then I want to concentrate more on the front. Next up, come on down. You have been chosen as the next contestant on the puddins wiring is wrong. Is that all of it? I was gonna say, I know there's more than that. So this is a bundle for the front that I believe was supposed to be in a yellow zip tie. The instructions showed for 2 yellow zip ties. We only had 1, but this one says battery, alternator, exciter, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's supposed to be coming to the front. Here's an idea. Why don't we just get those out of our way? This big red one, that's our battery. As far as this powers the whole harness. So that needs to work to a battery source for us. We're gonna fish it over the back of the motor and feed off of our starter. So we can run our battery lead to here, and then we'll run that wire off of there. So for now, I just kind of want to run stuff the way it needs to go. All right, here comes the big honker deluxe. This one's got a lot of wires. Got a feeder from the back. Then when it starts to bunch up there, you gotta hop up there and pull your slack, get it out the way. All right, those we want to pull up and over. Try not to tangle them up in here. There you go. Now, this can just look barely overwhelming. And that can look like a lot, but that's better than having them all just right there in your face, ain't it? Cut all them wires, that way we just got a mess and a half. Our thick purple wire, that should be for a starter solenoid. Ignition, switch, start. So we know it needs to go towards the starter, just like our red wire. Red wire right here, coil. We can lay it that way because our coil's right there. Alternator exciter. Is that a 12 volt source? Back in the day, it would take your regulator and I'm assuming they're just putting a 12 volt key to this. We're gonna verify that. If that is a 12 volt key, we don't need an igniter for our alternator because we have a true one wire. We just need to hook that wire up down to our battery. So if this is 12 volt key, it's actually gonna become our electric choke feed. Starter stuff, oil, water temp wires. This is all headlight, turn signals, stuff for our front indicators and lights. Then we got these two. One's a tachometer and one's a park light. Neither of which we have, so they're out of here. Snap. Does this plate look familiar? We're making changes already thanks to our electric fans that aren't accounted for in this kit. Luckily, in my electronic stuff, I have this little 12 volt distribution bar thingy. I cut them screws off because there ain't no room for them back there. Let me show you why we're adding stuff. Our wire that's supposed to power our whole harness, best I can tell, that's some good copper wiring, but that's 10 gauge. This fan alone pulls right at 20 amps. I mean, that fan gets after it. It ain't no pump. Throw in a couple headlights, some dash lights, who knows what else. I would just feel better, since we're gonna add that electric fan that pulls a lot of power, if we ran something heavier gauge to supply it. Now that's a good size wire though, to feed out of here and feed them fans. There's only one. So I actually added another relay here, and that's gonna be the relay that feeds our fan. We could have reworked this relay, which is for the horn, except beep beep, I think we may actually add the horn. I mean, it's real simple to add. We should just be able to add this wire in for our switch. The wire's already ran through the firewall. We literally just mount it, plug it in, we'll have a horn. So why not? So now the new plan is to run something heavier gauge through here, which I don't have yet, to the back of the starter. And that's still gonna come up. It'll feed here. And then off of this, we'll cut this wire and loop it right up there. And then we'll loop a wire off of here to feed our fan as well. That way that relay and the fuse box have plenty of power. It's gonna work, right? It'll work. I've been wrapping some of this up. I don't love these clamps, but for now we're gonna leave them there to hold our bundling down. We got a lot of wires since we chose to run our headlight wires up and over the engine. I still like the idea better than getting it in the exhaust, the steering, the gearbox, all that crap down there. Had we accounted for this during mock-up, we probably could have planned some type of sleeve through the frame to maybe snake some wires up, but it'll be okay. So I put some of our sleeve on here, and then right here, kicked out our wire for temp gauge, and then I ran us another wire. One's gonna go to our alternator. Looks like that could have been a little longer. Dang it. We'll mess with that. And then I sleeved some more. I sleeved enough for this to be able to make it up into here, which is where I'm then gonna kick our wires off, split them up for headlights and blinkers and that, blah, blah, blah. Now once this lays down here, this wire, she's gonna kick over to here to a sensor that we're gonna put in the block, and that's gonna be our ground for our relay for our fans. I ordered one, it hasn't came in yet. And this wire I actually added in our harness as well, and it's actually the park light wire that I removed. It's good quality wire, so I used it just as to run our new ground with. Obviously I didn't really record that, and it's taken a while. That's the thing with doing this crap. It's kind of tedious, very time consuming. Don't necessarily make the greatest video probably, but on a build, it's necessary. Obviously, this is a lot different when we do our wheel it runs and we just run alligator clips and stuff's arcing and sparking. This stuff has to be pretty good. Or some of that shrink stuff or wrap is overlapping. We're gonna kind of shrink this down, lock all that into place. This is kind of our pivot point too for looping down over the front of this motor. It's a little extra protection, I reckon. Well, good morning. Hope y'all's feeling better than me. Well, I woke up with a bad headache, stomach hurting. We're pushing through, we ain't got a choice. As you can see, this is looking just a little different. Went to the hardware store to get electrical tape and ended up finding some friction tape. That's this kind of cloth-like material, and I was not loving how that sheath braided looking stuff looks up here. I ran it underneath the car, fine, whatever. It's gonna kind of blend in, but up here where I could see it, it was really bugging me. Those big, ugly, rubber isolated clamps, they were bugging me. So what I did here was I actually cut down our clamps and just wrapped up like 2/3 of it and then wrapped it up in that tape, just enough where it kind of holds it there. I did move our 2 plug wires out of the way right now so they're not hooked up. And we just wrapped her with that cloth stuff. Now up in here, you can see, wrapped her up around. And our connection is underneath here. Right here we looped off, got our alternator hooked up. All of these connections here, they're soldered and then heat shrunk. And that as a whole just kind of blends into the motor better, I think. All right, here, all this stuff we had braided, I went ahead and wrapped it, drop it down close to the motor, a couple zip ties on our brake lines, pop up right in here, and then up in here it comes off, and I've split our wiring. In each bundle, you got a high beam, a low beam, and then the correct blinker for whichever side. We're just gonna leave them wrapped up there for now. Now that I just said that, I realized I never added a ground up in that harness like I did over there. But I ordered new headlights for this thing, and it maintains these factory buckets. It's just a new reflective housing that sits down in there that takes a newer light bulb. That way we get 12-volt high beams, low beams, and that new housing, actually down on the bottom, you put an amber bulb in there. That's your blinker. So it'll look like this. It's just gonna have everything we need hidden up in there. So all of our wiring will go into that. So we're just gonna leave this like this for now till we get them in. Now I've got quite a bit of time in that again, probably a good hour and a half-ish. I don't make the greatest video, but man, that looks way better. Watch this. You want to see what's really going to look good? We can drop that breather on and face it this side, and my eyeball automatically wants to go to that, which then just helps that wiring look a little more sneaky. So if you don't want to hide all your wiring in your frame, just get you a big old air cleaner like me. Really underestimated my time for wiring this thing. I thought, hell, it's just plain old hot rod. Be pretty simple, shouldn't take too long. It is past lunch already. Well, it's probably like 11:30-ish. By 11:30, I mean 11:56. I had to run, get some 6-gauge. I didn't have nothing heavy enough to feed our fuse box. This should be heavy enough coming from the back of the starter into that terminal in there. Obviously to handle the fan, but I need to actually look into a heater for this thing. I don't know. I'll do a little research. But what I'm getting at is this should be handle enough power for anything like that comfortably. Took the wagon to the O'Reilly's a minute ago to get that wire. She did great. I'm not much of a soldered connection expert here. I just put a little bit of flux on that, fill her up 2/3-ish with solder, get her nice and hot. I like to kind of pull on it and move on it, make sure we're actually getting that wire hot, or that solder starts to bite in there. Calm down, it's okay. Don't actually pet your heat flame, okay? Heat flame, like there's a cold flame. All right, put that on there. Slide our heat shrink over. And there we go. I'm gonna run that on the back side of the motor. I'd actually like to pull that up out there and wrap it with the starter solenoid wire where it looks nice. being anything wrapped in black is always going to help it disappear on there. I know I was able to push that wire through that grommet. Let's see if we can do it with the eyelet now soldered on. Little curveball. Make it a challenge. Oh yeah, I messed up. Maybe you can see we got some wires right there pulled. That's for our brake light switch. It's down here, so I actually should have pulled it with the wires running towards the back. All right, so here's the deal. That's gonna suck to get through there, and we have to get it through there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If it'd go really slow, what I'd do is run it through, put everything to length, and then tape it in a couple areas to the purple wire, and then we would wrap it up. Pull it all back out and then wrap it up. However, since that's gonna be hell in a handbasket to get through there, we're gonna lay out from the starter side this way, and then we'll tape it up. That way we only gotta shove it through there once. Starter stud faces this way. We need it to go that way. So I was like, hey, I'll bend that. Well, as I bent it over, it actually broke it. A little bit of that bend out of there. I like what I see over there. So now I get to redo this. Come on, get in here. Get it. Get your butt. Oh yeah. Get your butt in here, I said. Please. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Oh yeah. There we go. There we go. Woo! This thing's testing me. I'd wrap those up as far as I could up into here. There we go. Get the rest of her slack. We're getting our money's worth out of that hole. She ain't gonna hardly be able to fit anymore. Well, the good thing is pulling that actually took some of our slack all the way up to there. So let me actually pull that back some. Then if we check in here, we're gonna be aiming up to right in there. Hopefully y'all can see. That's looking good. I'm about out of a wrap here. As y'all can imagine, the closer we get to this firewall, the harder it is to get it all done up. But if you're persistent, well, I got a little more in there to do, but this should actually pull back a little bit, and we still got to wrap up these. I'm happy with this. Luckily, with that being there, we can kind of sneak a lot of the stuff down and around like we're doing. Yeah, I had to unplug a couple plug wires to get that all out of there how I wanted. But it looks like that's gonna run down pretty nice. Put our heat shrink on. I just checked our eyelet size, make sure it is right before we do it wrong. And next we go crimp. Bring in the old soldering iron, get her hotter than a $2 pistol. And then slide up this is that good heat shrink that's got the glue in her too. So as you heat her down, it glues it. Then I'm just gonna use the exhaust from our little soldering iron here, and we'll shrink this baby down. Careful, don't burn your fingers. You can trust me, I'm an expert at not burning my hand. Whoa! All right, that baby is good to go. Inside here, let's knock out our key switch. Actually, I take that back. We're gonna make those share, them two there. Got one for you and one for you. Purple's for our starter solenoid. This one here says Coil. So we're just gonna put these together. Usually you'd go off your other stud on your starter, but our little mini starter don't have that. So as we crank, this is gonna send power to our solenoid and our coil. Some people are not gonna like that I'm doing this, but I promise it's gonna be okay. Yeah. There we go. That solder took real good. I tried to slide that down there too quick, and that end was still hot, and our heat shrink started to shrink, watch doing that, it'll get you. But you can trim her down there, slide her down, and get her buttoned up here. Good thing my hand is super stable and not shaking one bit. That one goes right there. Don't worry, folks. I fixed my mistake. I'm like, some of y'all ain't gonna like me putting them wires together. I don't know why. Yeah, I do, because it ain't gonna work. If you hook those to the same one, then when you let off the key, it's gonna quit giving power to the coil. She ain't gonna run. So I swapped those with our pink one going to our ignition terminal now. And I'll tell you what made me brain fart is before I went over there and started wiring that, I was just kind of looking in our instructions here to see what they were showing. And I don't know if you can see there at the bottom for ignition, they show the pink and the orange wire sharing. Orange ignition switch, ignition feeds, ignition row of fuses. If you have an 8 circuit or smaller kit, you may not have an orange ignition wire. I believe ours is called a 9+3, which indicates more than 8. However, in here, I don't see any orange wire, so I don't believe ours came with one. In fact, before I ever installed this a couple days ago, I looked to see what was feeding the back of our fuses here, and one row is constant 12 volts, and the other side is fed by our accessory switch wire here. So in that case, the only wire we need hooked up for ours on the ignition side is the coil wire. So I think reading that sharing a wire for some reason made me have a major brain fart there. Anyhow, switch is wired up. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to run into town again because I want more of that friction tape. I didn't know if I was gonna like that stuff. I like it. So like that, I wanna wrap it up with some of that as well. I know it seems like I'm slacking, but I've got a lot of odds and ends. Got some solder, different heat shrinks. We have some eyelets, and I've got stuff in here and in here. Got a lot in there. But of course, I've got some of my crap spread out now because we're making a mess. And wiring's one of them things where I would have never guessed on this. I was gonna need 6 gauge to like upgrade that, but this is my electrical cabinet. Hey, and right there's really good electrical tape I forgot I had as I went to town yesterday to get some. Got all kinds of tape in here. Good stuff too. That makes total sense. And yeah. So I know it seems like I'm super underprepared. The problem was I have enough that I know I got quite a bit, but I don't have every little thing we need, come to find out. Got the old Hoosier slicks on the back, but front wheel pulled off, drum pulled off. Someone looks like they're in bad shape. Yes, I just passed a Ford on the side of the road in my old Chevrolet. I swung through Taco Boy earlier after our wire trip, and Leo, the owner, he said he had one of my videos on in there, and some guy was watching it and really enjoying it. Then I made a joke about Ford owners, and he said that guy was a Ford owner, and I'd made a joke, something about him being the most sensitive or taking offense, and then the guy got mad because of the joke, and I was I'm like, so you're saying he proved me right? Taco Boy's Ford or views don't line up with mine on Ford jokes, so don't quit going there if you're a Ford person. I'm a Ford guy too, from a distance. Well, I tried. Went and got me a drink and I came back by. I was gonna see if there's anything I could do to help if there was someone there, but there ain't no one there. Yeah, got what we're after. Now we're not gonna wrap up any more of this underneath here probably until we get her all full sorted. But this, nothing should be added to unless I find that magical, mythical orange wire. Now that's gonna swoop up, and as long as she fits, which she does, we're gonna be in good shape. As you solder your connections, let me give you a little pro tip here. Like on this one, I'm bending the wires because we've got that female for a spade connector there, and if it's flipped over and your solder runs down in there, then it won't slide on your spade properly. Ask me how I know. I messed up and did it on one of our things. But if you face her straight up and down here, the goal is to get your solder actually down in the connection. And once we get her warmed up, she'll go. Now this is to actually turn on our relay for our fans. So it's just a 12 volt key. I stole from our radio wire because we don't have a radio. Now mind you, a relay don't pull very much power to suck in your contacts. So you can see I'm splicing a wire out of here, and that's so we can feed anything else if we need to. It'll already be wired in here, and if we don't, we can just cap this wire. We'll determine that more in the future. I kind of found a heater I do like, so I know I said I wasn't putting a heater in here, but we'll see. The list of crap just keeps growing. So here's our relay. I know it's real hard to see, but we've got a short wire off our little 12 volt supply up here feeding it. Then we've got the wire that actually goes out to the fans on the back side. 85, that's our ground. So that's the wire that'll go out to our sensor in the side of the motor. And then our 12 volts to pull in the coil, which will go over here on this one. And that should be it. Oh, slapped you. So now in this case, 12 volts is coming in. We turn the key on. 12 volts is pulling in our coil. Once that sensor heats up to the temperature where it makes contact, it grounds that wire out. That grounds out our coil. The coil now has 12 volts from the key on that side, a ground on this side. It pulls our contacts closed, and then the 12 volts coming out of here now flows through and goes out to our fan. I hope that made sense. Now, before I ever mounted that fuse box, guys, I should have accounted for stuff like fans. Kind of went into it with the mentality of, we'll just get into it, and what we get into, we get into. That's a professional way to get into it. However, that didn't really account for laying out the relay we ended up adding, or that little distribution bar stud thingy-majigger. If we would have laid all that out on that piece of metal mounting plate we built before, it would all fit and flow a lot better. Right now the relay ain't flowing because it was never planned to be on there. I'm going to change that. There we go. Build us a little bracket that'll pick that up. We can kick her sideways. That should work. Y'all remember last time we worked on the Model A, I was talking about how I got Stewart Warner gauges because they're good quality. And then I showed y'all the box they were in and they were just wrecked everywhere. Then I told you I ordered a electronic one. Well, look how it came in. Quality.
Sounds broken. They did pack the wiring really well. Look at that.
Ooh. There's my GPS tracker.
I care more about that than they did.
Apparently. They've been using this for...
Sounds broken, so you might check it.
Charlie Brown football practice.
It's like the Ace Ventura when he's kicking the package at the beginning of the movie.
This is assembled in Mexico and deassembled by FedEx shipping. Well, at least we got it. Dang, don't tell me that's deeper. It ain't gonna fit. Oh, it's deeper, but it'll be all right. Because this one had the Speedo cable and almost fit.
You can short the knees, right?
Yep, we'll cut what we have to. I'm positive it'll work. I'm negative about this wiring situation because it's kicking my butt. Just taking a while, guys.
Quality.
Yep. So my question would be, what do we have to wire up here? Looks like probably 2 signals to our Speedo, and then just a ground, and then a 12 volt key, I'm guessing. Yep, and I was telling you just to share your positive and negative from the back of the Speedo. So that's easy enough. La-di-da-di-doo all day. Connected our oil pressure sender right down there. Brake switch wires, just kind of curly cued them up. Let's look at getting our battery in. This is going to be our next big thing to figure out. Now, of course, I accounted for it to mount it, so it's going right there. But as far as figuring out our leads going down through the floor, our grounds, all that stuff. This is gonna be good and fun. Is that cell phone bright enough? I told him, you better not turn on the electricity over there. I can't afford it. I'm only willing to pay for my air conditioning. All right, I got us an eyelet on here. These bolt on and off. We're not going to use a typical battery post. However, I kind of like this here with these on here, where if this little battery, which I'm not convinced is going to be the most reliable thing, mainly because it's the size of a sandwich.
That Fire Lake sandwich?
No, Fire Lake large. Like this, we can easily put jumper cables on here, where if we just have the bolts and the eyelets, then we can't. From what I can tell, our best bet's to aim inwards. If we aim this way, then we go through here. There's a bracket underneath there, so we're gonna swoop that down around here. So that can look something like that. So I definitely just eyeballed that really good. We're gonna aim for about right there. That's good for now. Now we can feed it from the back side, because we're gonna work this up towards our starter. That way we can actually put it on, and then whatever, hopefully this is long enough, whatever we don't need, we'll trim and do our eyelets back here. Drill and tap our frame to be able to hold this bad mama jamma, mama, hot mama. I think I'm going insane from wiring. 3 long days we've been in the shop now. No sleep. Just wiring. Now you want to use a red lead for your positive, but then when that red is ugly, you just wrap it in black. The main thing is, guys, I know some of this may not be some of y'all's favorite. I want stuff where it's easy to work on. Like I said, on the truck, we had a bunch of wiring and stuff. And I was like, oh, it'll be a show truck. No one can find a single piece of wiring. You know how many shows I've taken it to? And I don't even spend the time to open the stuff up where they can't see the head wiring. You know what it's ever done? It makes it hard to work on crap. Because it's like, oh, I need to replace the alternator. I had all that wire fished in such a way, it was like, I didn't disconnect the battery. It was sparking and arcing because everything's so tight fit.
Yeah.
Disconnect your battery first. So like this, if we need to get to it, even from underneath the car, you could get to those 2 clamps and pull that pretty stinking easy. All right, I'll fish that along through there. Popped her up through. Next up, we've got our solder job. Fluxed up our wires, fluxed them up. Hopefully we don't flux this up, if you know what I'm saying. Oh yeah. And slowly pull that out of there, and I can see that solder taken to our wire. Kill the torch. Then try to be nice and steady. Let that cool off. Oh yeah, that's a good sign. I can even see some solder had creeped its way up into the strands up here. That makes me happy. Means she bit good. Next up, got some heat shrink. There we go. Ooh. This morning, I'm feeling grounded. Maybe I said, ooh, an opportunity to get some pets. Caught Dad on the ground. Caught him on the ground. Get in his face, get me some pets. We are into Monday morning. This video was supposed to be wrapped up last week, but I want to drive this thing. I finished our grounds underneath the car. Let me show the people what they want. So underneath here, we got our one coming from the battery down to the frame. And then also I ran one down that tube and right there to the back of the tail housing on the transmission. So that gets us grounded. Put our connection up here from our battery to our chassis, directly from that joint over to our drivetrain. Then I hopped up here and put us a ground going from our one clamp off the chassis up to our body. Chassis, body, drivetrain, all have good grounds now. I'm working on our under dash wiring again. Started sorting our grounds. building us a ground harness, basically. You can see in that top left corner underneath that Phillips screw, that's gonna kick over this way. Right there, I soldered us out a wire. That's gonna be able to feed our blinker switch in the future. And then we're bringing that ground over and out here where we're gonna have to power lights and gauges, blah, blah, blah. Now, since we wanna get all of our wiring sorted underneath the tank, that blue wire is gonna feed over in the future to here and run up for a windshield wiper. So we wanna tie it in, and then our Speedo box, GPS thingy majigger, we're gonna run it over to this side, and that box was white, and I want it to blend better, so it's in here in the old paint booth, painted her black. And yesterday after church, we swung by the little like arts and crafts store. My daughter was looking for something, and I wanted something pretty close to aluminum, silverish. I seen this thing called metallic titanium. They might as well just call it damn silver metal flake, because that's what it is. So I come out here yesterday, sprayed that on there, and that color is really cool. We were building a 60s customs with some scallops and flames and pinstripes and stuff, but not so much for this Model A. So I had my parts people bring me some colors this morning. I just called her and I said, anything you got that's gray, aluminish, whatever looking, please send it to me. So let's see what we got here. Metallic aluminum, high performance wheel coating. This has metal flake in it, which I don't want. This one don't look like it has any. And then just aluminum, which looks like it's got a little bit of sparkle too. I want the lighter color, so we may try this. I don't know if y'all can see, but this definitely has metal flake in it too. I can see it in the air, y'all probably can't. And that color ain't bad, but I just don't want it reflective, like metallic or metal flake at all. Look how much comes out of this thing. I know y'all can see that metal flake, can't you? Looks like damn elf farted in here and let out all of his Christmas spirit or something. That's just damn ridiculous. I Scotch-Brighted our panel. This is actually more the look I'm after. I just want something more flat looking, I guess I realize. Tried that other color and it is like fake chrome, basically. I think our engine enamel aluminum's the best bet out of what I got here. So we'll try it, and if it ain't right, I'm gonna have to make a trip somewhere. Gotta be careful. Looks like it'll be easy to run this. Hey, that's looking all right. Just a very light dusting over that other color, flattened out with the Scotch-Brite. Maybe we're on to something here. Up next, we're gonna pull the plug out of the side of our motor, replace it with that right there. I had to run and get a bushing. This sensor is 195 on, 175 off, something like that. Of course, this is what's gonna ground out our fans, ground out the relays for our fans, I mean. I'm gonna have that sucker ready, because see service, so as we pull that plug, obviously we start to get coolant. Now, pro tip, y'all know I like to use a lot of cheap stuff. I bought a better sensor than I usually get. On my truck, I have these, and I think it took 4 of the cheap ones before I finally got one that works. Now once it works, but getting that first one to work is work itself. These ones had really good reviews on them. I think they're the Be Cool brand, and they cost what 4 of your cheap ones do, but if one good one gets us there and it's more reliable, that'll be better. With that tightened up, we just put our wire on there. It should be good to go. You may notice I jacked the rear up as well, and that's because I ran our wires for the rear taillights to the back. Maybe y'all can see, but along our brake line there, all the way down through there, that thing was clamped every, I don't know, foot or so. So I just zip tied those along down through there. Makes it easy to, it looks good because it follows the brake line. It's easy to get off there if we ever need to get off for whatever reason. Pretty happy with that. Next, we need to get some fluid in this old rear end. Here's the fill. See if we can do this without spilling it. So up first, we're putting our limited slip additive in. I just got the AC Delco brand. Here's your part number. Found it on the Amazoner. That should help keep that center section happy, hopefully. Now we just gotta squeeze this in there. There ain't no way we're gonna fit that. Hey, What are you doing here, killer? I was wondering why you were hiding in here. He's snoring. All right, give me a couple minutes here. We'll have her topped off. It's going. It can fit somehow. Got her serviced and managed to not spill it all over me. Today's gonna be a good day. I'll hop back up here to our motor, and our spark plug wires, kind of routed them down. Originally I had the front two on each side going over the top of the motor, and that just looked too clustered together or whatever. So now we're going down and around up the back. Yeah, it's all right. Getting it to clear the steering and exhaust over here was fun. But looks pretty good. We have not had a dipstick in this rig, so I just made one of these chrome jobbers fit, had to hammer it in and then kind of tweak on it some. We are really getting close at this point. Now at the very beginning of this video, we started with stretching this sucker out right here. And I've had her out here baking in the Oklahoma sun. Hopefully it's a little better to handle now. I think that color's gonna work for us. So let's look at getting our gauges all sorted finally. Inside here, I fed our little box we painted black down through, and in this little dash area right there, there's actually supposed to be a 1/4 that was missing. This museum quality car was missing a screw. So I added one and mounted our box right there. And as you can see, that's a kind of good place to hide it. So hopefully that'll work out. Now our gauges should be as simple as mounting them in here and then doing some wiring. Well, eyeballing them suckers straight's been the hardest part. I'm a super huge fan of that. That's your positive post, that's your ground, and there's isolators through there because obviously that positive can't touch all this, it would arc out. So is what it is. I don't think we'll have issues. Just not my favorite thing in the world. For this, we're going to build as much of a little standalone harness for here as we can. Meaning like all these need 12 volts, so we're gonna daisy chain them together, and same with our grounds. We'll be able to hook up everything besides our lights. Those lights still don't clear the 1 gauges. The little light socket that comes with the Speedo is plastic. It's a lot smaller, and it actually clears for our oil and water temp. So I'm gonna look online if I can find 2 more of them. We'll be able to add them in. For now, we'll have to do without. With all those on there, you can kind of see we'll bring 12 volts in right here, and then that swoops over to there, then swoops underneath there to there. For now, we're not going to hook up any of our running lights because we just have that one little female spade connector. We're going to put this on our parking lights. Where in the future, if we get more of them sockets, we can add it. For now, we're not going to add any parking lights. Yeah, be much cleaner if we do it all at once. On the rest of these, we put eyelets, and we got blue oil temp, green water, 12 volts there, and our ground. On our Speedo cable, we got the same thing. Black for the ground, red for positive. It says if you're using a Stuart Warner calibrated gauge, put your green to your ground as well, and then the white will go to signal. So we just got to hold this up here, put eyelets on, connect everything. Should be sitting good. Well, except we didn't factor for adding 17 more grounds to this one. Finish connecting. And please fit, please fit, please fit. It's looking good. As long as our 12 volts back there ain't hitting the thing. And I think we got room between it. Thank you, Lord. Whew. Yes. Yes! Success! Finally! This has been some work, folks. But seeing this in here, man, it's making me so happy. This looks good. This looks better than anything I thought we were gonna actually end up with here. So, super, super, super happy with this. I mean, check that out. That's pretty stinking good looking for a factory Model A dash with a gas tank in her. Bolt in the floors. This thing's fit nice. All that stuff lines right up. Nice and smooth, baby. It's about the only thing that's going smooth, ain't it? Let's get our shifter. We'll get our driver's seat. We'll make sure our key's off because we're about to hook our battery up. Probably steer easier with the steering wheel. What do y'all think? Show you these before I forget. I use them underneath the dash for our dash wiring. They are falling off though. That's a two-sided sticky tape, and that's a little platform to be able to zip tie to. I use these a lot when I work maintenance in the factory, especially on our automation and stuff. I clean the surface with alcohol. That's usually your go-to, and then that sticky tape has all right luck, but I don't know if these are just too cheap made or what. Slick said they make them with magnets, so that'll work real good for us. So I'm gonna get some of the ones with magnets on the way. Battery's locked in and hooked up. Been going through my list here: floor, seat, shifter, drive, brake in the rear, radiator level. Saying that just reminded me something I never did. When we broke this in, there was a slow leak underneath the water pump from like that gasket being bad, I think. Dang it, dang it, dang it. The way that shot out that bottom hole, it makes me wonder if the leak ain't just coming around this bolt. I just love making messes. The best part is this little paper gasket, whatever this was on there, that is leaking. It's so crappy that it's like half stuck to one side and the other. And of course, I was just trying to pry that open enough where I could pull the old gasket out and slide a new one in. But why would it be that easy, huh? Engine block side, I was able to get the super scraper on, and then the water pump side, I put my little fingerboard file in there and got her cleaned up. That thing right there, I think. So I'll button it up together, and now if this side don't leak, the other side probably will. Wrap that up, slapped our ground on our choke. I realized I'd forgot that. We're gonna sit her down. If she fires up, we're gonna try backing this thing out of the shop. Think it'll work? No? Maybe? Yes? I don't know. Dad's been doing kind of rough on this one. All right, guys. Turned our key on and our speedo went all the way to the right. I don't like that.
What's gonna happen if it doesn't work?
Dad gets to fix it until it does work. Let's see what happens. I don't like the fact that we don't have any oil pressure. But that don't necessarily mean we don't have oil pressure. We may have something else going on with our gauges.
So what happens there now? What do we do now?
We just shove it out in the junkyard and try again later. Well, what the heck, Over? We've got voltage there. I find it hard to believe that our motor just quit making oil pressure. We know it primed good from the start with a manual gauge. Last time when we broke it in. No, I don't have the water hooked to the oil and oil hooked to the water. We've got power there. We've got good ground there. So I don't know if our cinder went bad. I don't know if our gauge went bad. I don't know if I'm just overlooking something simple. Our water temp is coming up on our gauges. Yeah, we still got nothing on our oil, and our speedometer is just pegged. Water temp's getting up about 190, so we should have some fans kick on before too long. Don't do nothing crazy, okay? Come on, baby, kick on. There it goes. Fan kicks on, that baby's screaming. I can feel the heat over here. You feel that air? That's the supercharger, baby. Now the question is, can that cool our engine? Well, the temp up here just dropped back down towards 190. Fan kicked off already, so it must have cooled it down to wherever it wanted it. I don't think that's 175 or whatever, but hey, we'll take it. I've let our fan cycle on and off a couple times, make sure that's gonna be happy. It's good. Let's back it out of here. I cannot believe we are driving the Model A right now. Well, that fan does a good job, but it sure is annoying, ain't it? Guys, look at the Model A. We just thinking drove it outside. Alright, I chalked our front tires, meshing them new gears together. It's 441. We're going to 456. So I took my meter and I set it to ohms where we could check for continuity, and I checked between the engine and the cinder, and we have continuity. Then I checked between the cinder and the stud. That outputs a signal to the gauge, and we have nothing. And what your cinder does is it provides a ground to your gauge, and that's how it adjusts it. One way we can test that is take a jumper wire here and put it from something that's grounded to that stud, and our oil gauge should change. So there's before, we're reading nothing, and after doing that we're still reading nothing. Perfect. That's not what I expected to happen. I wonder if our wire somehow has a break in it between here and there. That's a possibility. Still nothing, huh? Well, that's gonna be the extent of our troubleshooting for now. We know it has oil pressure because as long as it's been running, if it didn't have oil pressure, we'd be in bad shape by now. Slapped our breather on, all that ends up looking a lot better like that. Let's get the meter and check our voltage. That thing obviously ain't gonna pull much power right now except for when that fan kicks on. It pulls close to 20 amp, and that alternator's a 100 amp one wire, so should have plenty of charging power there. So I don't know if y'all could see that or not, but I was checking amp draw coming straight off the alternator, and it was at like 25, 26 amps with that fan running. Then when that fan just cut out, it dropped down to like 2.8. I think that's a pretty good indicator that that alternator's helping carry, or is carrying the load of that, which is good. Also on its output, 14 volts. I was a little nervous using our little battery, and the one thing it tells you for certain about this is you don't want to run it below 12 volts. So as long as we always stay at that 14, we'll be happy. That little battery cranks this engine no problem. Got a few minutes left here. What do you think, Theo? Huh? It's working, dude. You should be more excited. He's like, yeah, Dad, but you don't want to let me crawl up in that one, so I don't care. Now, we ain't gonna drive her very far. I'll probably just take her for a kind of quick down and back. We ain't gonna get too buck nasty. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the air conditioning here. Water temp's done great. That cinder does a good job of keeping her right about 190 or so. Get her up in park. She did her 15 minutes. Here comes Hot Rod to record Dad. Da, 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 da. It's 100 degrees, but we got on a sweatshirt. That makes total sense. You got on a sweatshirt for, girl?
Because it's cold in my classroom.
Oh. Well, now we're in shop class and it's hot out here. Coming down. Just keeps rolling and hits the Mercedes.
So it's doing pretty.
Alright, Dad's about to drive, baby.
Yes, sir. I can for sure.
Oh boy.
Here comes pudding.
First drive. I can definitely feel the posi track. Woo! It's peppy. Peppier than a large pepperoni.
Oh gosh. I just like fell back.
Yeah, you better hold on, girl. Kind of hit a couple bumps here.
In my face.
We got something rattling. Just something. We'll have to look and see. It's real close to the floor pan. Oh, oh, rattle, rattle, shake, shake. What's scraping? You hearing some noises back there?
Yeah, I'm hearing like snakes. I'm like.
We're definitely gonna have a couple noises to figure out here, guys. But she's staying nice and cool. She feels pretty peppy, so we like that. Just little shakes, rattles, squeaks. Nothing like terrifying sounding.
Ooh. There's a dog at. Put in reverse, Terry!
Put in reverse, Terry!
What do you think? Do we call that success?
Call it success.
All right. Thank you for recording, baby. Hopefully she got y'all some great quality shots there. I don't know what y'all got. I didn't feel like doing the 7 tripod setup, so what you get is what you get and you don't throw a fit. I can tell. Sounds like her back tires are squeaking, huh?
Yeah, I was petrified.
Excuse me, Theo, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just kind of look underneath here real quick.
Get my hand.
I don't know. That brace is right here. I bet we're hitting that brace just enough for it to squeak. Other than that, like I said, it sounds like something's tapping on top of her transmission. So I don't know if that TV cable's in a way where it's just tapping. I don't know if our floor pan is just close enough to the transmission where it can tap. But guys, for this go around, I'm gonna call that a wrap. Why did this thing whoop me so bad? I don't know. This crap's tedious. I thought we were gonna have all that done like mid-Friday, and here we are. It's gotta be 5 o'clock now on Monday. But we just successfully drove our Model A hot rod for the first time since the build began. And by golly, we're gonna take that as a big old victory for today. We still got a couple bugs to work out. We've still got a little bit more work to button up to be able to get the hood on it and, you know, interior in it and other stuff. But we're there, guys. I mean, she's running, driving. What else can you say? I cannot thank you guys enough for the support of being here, watching this Model A build. If you've been here, you know this is like a teenage dream of mine coming true. And I'm sure in a couple minutes it's gonna set in that I finally just really drove that thing. Man, does it look good too. People thought I was ruining it. Look at that. Look at that. So thank you guys for the support. Thanks for selling us out on the merchandise of the Model A. Like I said, that's a huge and great way to be able to support this build with the lack of attention it brought to the channel. So thank you guys who chose to support that away. And much other than that, I'm on the Instagrammer, I'm on the Patreon, I'm on the Facebooker. We've got channel memberships open, which is another way people's been asking to support. So we put them on. You can go to like puddins.fab.shop channel, and then there's like my picture and it says subscribe, and I think next to it there's a join button. And I reckon that's it. puddins.fab.shop.com for that good quality merchandise. I don't think we have much left. We are running a sale on stickers through the end of August, so you're gonna get those. You better get them quick. Oh, actually, by the time this video posts, August will probably be over. Pulled a fast one on you. So I will see you guys next time. However, do not forget, sitting on your ass will not finish your project. I've got a project and a half. It's called getting that shop cleaned again.